Joining me on the program now, CEO of Christian Savings, Dan Mazengarb. Dan, kia ora, nice to see you again.
Kia ora, good morning, Andrew. It's nice to be here.
I mean, this was heavily indicated that this was the way that it was going to go, and a lot of people are kind of been hedging and waiting and floating and all those sorts of things. Oh gosh, is my mortgage going to drop again with another OCR drop? Well, looks like good news in that regard.
Yeah, look, it's quite funny after these OCR cuts occur. I walk through the office and you can tell those who have mortgages in the office because they're smiling. And you can tell the ones who have, by luck or by intelligence, managed to time their fixed rates perfectly with these cuts.
Yeah.
So it is good news and welcome relief for the economy. So yes, predicted, and I really look forward to. I mean, personally, my a lot of my mortgage rolls off in a few months' time. So it is certainly needed out there, and especially if you're a small business owner or even a large business owner, you'll know that things have been pretty tough for you, and so we need this relief.
I mean, this is second bit of good news for the economy. Well, continuing to be good news with inflation seemingly under control, interest rates going down. What is this doing to business confidence?
Yeah, look, it's. I think Adrian made a really good point. He said, "Don't expect to go to the supermarket and expect a discount on your eggs just because inflation's under control."
Yeah,
we still have a cost of living crisis, or we're still hurting from the recent inflation war. So, look, I think, I was talking to a business owner the other day, employs a relatively large number of people, and he's actually had to make redundancies, restructure, because, in his words, he was waiting to see what happens and waiting to see if his customers, who are mostly in the infrastructure sector, come back for business. So I think, look, it's hard to tell how quickly, but I would expect that with these cuts and some good news in the agricultural sector with milk prices, that I think business confidence will start to return.
In some ways, this has been a long time coming, and as you indicated, not all businesses have made it. It has been a very tough season, particularly for small businesses in New Zealand. There's been some comments and critique as to whether or not the Reserve Bank moved fast enough, or perhaps it moved slow enough, or how the commercial banks have responded to the OCR cuts. In some ways, though, they've anticipated the cuts this time round.
Yeah, look, I think some of those price cuts that happened late last year by the banks foresee or priced in this cut. Although, interestingly, from my memory, the last time there was an OCR cut, there was barely any movement in rates.
Yeah.
However, this time round, there was quite a flurry of cuts, and we've got our first interest rate with a 4 in front of it, ANZ, for I think it's 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would expect over the next couple of weeks there's going to be a bit of jostling that happens with the banks and a bit of competition.
Yeah.
And so there'll probably be a bit of a further cut. So that's good news for mortgage holders with their mortgages rolling over, and say, a month's time, they might get sort of a new equilibrium.
Yeah.
I think for the Reserve Bank, obviously their job is hard no matter what the situation is, because you've got the domestic situation, right? So inflation is under control, it's at 2.2%. But overseas, of course, we've got some big thunderstorms on the horizon around trade wars. And so there is some real uncertainty as to how that's going to affect New Zealand. It's probably not going to be good for business, but it is difficult, especially after COVID. They probably copped a bit of flack for going too hard too soon.
Yeah.
And so, I think they're taking a pretty middle of the road approach.
You talk about those economic storms on the horizon, but actually with interest rates looking like they're going to be relatively low, certainly compared to recent years, relatively low at the moment. An encouragement, I suppose, not just for mortgage holders, but for business to lock it down for a longer term with a little bit of uncertainty on the horizon. If people can secure a relatively low interest rate for 2, 3, 5 years, perhaps that gives them a little bit of some fixed cost certainty. That's also going to boost business confidence, perhaps.
Yeah, look, both individuals and businesses love certainty. And so I think having the sense that we might be near the trough, I think there is still more OCR cuts predicted for later this year, but we are nearing that trough and also nearing, the turnaround point for that pickup in business. So I think fixing rates is going to help businesses. Interestingly, from our perspective, obviously, in our business, we take term deposits. And personally, I didn't observe more people fixing for longer when term deposit rates were up. And that's interesting because obviously not everyone in New Zealand has a mortgage. We have a whole retired population who do live off the interest in term deposits. So it was interesting to see not a huge amount of people rushing in, say, 12 months ago to lock at those higher, 6%, 6.5% for a TD. Because, of course, these cuts aren't actually good for savers because they're going to earn less on their fixed income if it's in TDs.
Just needing a little bit more cash on hand if they need to access it in a crisis, perhaps, as well. Now, I mean, this is good news generally, but it may take a while to trickle down into the economy as mortgage rates roll over. But not a bad optimistic start just as we're getting towards the end of the financial year, Dan.
Yep, and look, you've also got to think about the employees as well. It's been a bit of a glut, and so hopefully for those who are unemployed, the market is going to pick up maybe later in the year as business confidence resumes and people start hiring again.
Yeah. Hey, good news at the start of the year. And hey, thanks very much for the work that you do. christiansavings.org.nz for more information about that. Dan, thanks for your time. Thanks for joining us.
Kia ora. Thank you.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.